The Las Vegas Raiders just wrapped up their mandatory minicamp, and on the final day, head coach PeteCarroll made something very clear. This team is going to roll with a running back by committee approach. Now, for some fans, that statement was shocking, maybe even frustrating. After all, the Raiders just drafted Ashton Jeanty with the 6th overall pick, a dynamic playmaker many believe could be one of the top backs in the entire league. So why would Carroll pivot to a shared backfield? The answer lies not in doubt, but in strategy. When asked about how touches would be distributed between Jeanty and veterans like Raheem Mostert, Carroll didn't hesitate. He said he wants competition, he wants depth, he wants fresh legs, and he's not leaning on just one guy. He referenced the classic thunder and lightning backfields of the past, dual threat systems that kept defenses guessing and runners healthy. Mostert brings years of speed and experience. Zamir White, who had an impressive camp, offers size and burst. Even Sincere McCormick, a name some may overlook, flashed explosiveness late last season. And Jeanty? Carroll praised his attitude, focus, and the way he handled the spotlight. He's everything the Raiders hoped for, explosive, reliable, and locked in. But Carroll's philosophy has always been about longevity, balance, and competition. This isn't about benching a star. It's about building a backfield that can withstand a 17-game war. This is classic PeteCarroll football. Think back to Seattle, where the Seahawks consistently loaded up the backfield. They used second and third-round picks on running backs in back-to-back years. Not because they lacked talent, but because depth wins games in December. Jeanty will get his touches. You can bet on that. But if Mostert is giving you 5.1 yards per carry and Jeanty is giving you 5.8, you're not picking favorites. You're picking situations. You're making decisions that win games, not fantasy leagues. So no, this isn't a slight against Ashton Jeanty. It's not panic. It's not indecision. It's smart, calculated football. The Raiders aren't just preparing for Week 1. They're building a team that's still dangerous in Week 18 and beyond. PeteCarroll's message wasn't complicated. It was deliberate. The Raiders aren't trying to hide Ashton Jeanty. They're protecting him. They're planning to keep him fresh, explosive, and deadly when it matters most. But that doesn't mean Jeanty is going to carry the full load. This team has depth, and they're going to use it. Take Sincere McCormick, for example. In 3 healthy starts last season, he averaged over 5 yards per carry. That's no small feat. Yes, he got dinged up in his 4th appearance, but when he was on the field and healthy, he produced. Carroll's tone said it all. Sincere will get his touches. 5 or 6 carries to start. Maybe more if he catches fire. This is a hot hand system. If Raheem Mostert struggles, McCormick is next up. If McCormick isn't hitting holes, Mostert will step in. It's a fluid 1-2 punch behind the obvious lead back. Make no mistake, Ashton Jeanty is RB1. He'll see 15 to 20 touches a game, no question. But Carroll won't waste him on bruising, short-yardage collisions at the goal line. That's where backs like Zamir White come in. Bigger, stronger, built for trench warfare. Let him punch it in from the 1-yard line. Let the others absorb that contact. Some fans are stuck on fantasy football numbers, but the Raiders are playing for real wins. This isn't about stat lines. It's about building a sustainable attack that can pound, slice, and explode without burning out your franchise back by Week 10. And don't forget, Raheem Mostert scored 20 touchdowns 2 seasons ago. He still has gas in the tank, and he can be a game breaker in the red zone. The committee doesn't take away from Jeanty. It enhances him. This backfield is about versatility, not favoritism. Now let's shift the focus to another name in the Raiders' running back room. Dylan Laube. Laube may not be in line for 20 carries a game, but don't count him out. He's making noise as a punt return specialist, and that might just be his ticket onto the 53-man roster. Right now, Laube is one of 3 players getting reps in the return game during minicamp and OTAs. Alongside him are Tommy Mellott, another late-round rookie, and wide receiver Dante Thornton Jr. While Thornton could carve out a real role on offense, Laube's path to the field likely runs through special teams. And that's okay. That's how it starts. Laube's story is classic underdog. Coming from a small school, he wasn't supposed to hear his name called on draft day, but the Raiders saw something: vision, balance, returnability. And when you're fighting for a job, that return role matters. He may not be ready to challenge Jeanty or Mostert for carries just yet, and he struggled to hold on to the football last year. But there's time. Development isn't linear. McCormick is in year 4 and just now finding his footing. By year 3 or 4, Laube could be doing the same if he puts in the work. For now, the Raiders aren't asking him to be a star. They're asking him to flip field position, secure the ball, and spark something on special teams. If Laube can do that, he'll have a role. And in the NFL, a role is all you need to build something bigger. Dylan Laube isn't built like your typical returner, but what he lacks in top-end size, he makes up for in quickness, balance, and vision. And there's a world of difference between returning punts and returning kicks. As a punt returner, you're standing still, staring into the sky, with defenders screaming toward you at full speed. But with just one quick move, one jab step, you can make a man miss entirely. That's what Laube does. He's not running 100 miles per hour like a kick returner. He's reading the angles, feeling the field. And now, the Raiders are giving him a real shot. Laube's already spent a year in the league. He's got enough experience to know how to survive the chaos. And if he keeps showing the twitch and toughness the job requires, he may just win the role outright. We'll see if he can seize it. Now let's talk about the big boys, the offensive line. Because I spoke with someone inside camp, and I've got insight on who's getting the first team reps right now. It's early, but the current group tells us a lot. At left tackle, no surprise, Kolton Miller is locked in. That job isn't up for debate. He's the anchor. Left guard is where things start getting interesting. Dylan Parham has been taking the majority of first-team reps, but he's been rotating with Jordan Meredith. Parham also suffered a minor injury during the second day of mandatory minicamp, which gave Thayer Munford a chance to step in at left guard. Center belongs to rookie Jackson Powers-Johnson, and there's no rotation there. He's already the guy. They drafted him for this role, and he's answering the call. At right guard, it's been all Alex Kappa. No other lineman has taken a snap there with the ones. That job is his unless something drastic changes. And at right tackle, rookie DJ Glaze has locked himself in. Quietly and confidently, he's claimed that job early, and it doesn't look like anyone's pushing him out of it. So your starting 5, for now, is LT, Kolton Miller, LG, Dylan Parham, C, Jackson Powers, Johnson, RG, Alex Kappa, RT, DJ Glaze. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Thayer Munford is no longer taking any snaps at tackle. He's been moved full-time to guard. When Parham went down, Munford stepped in at left guard. But when the second-team offense took the field, Munford moved over to right guard, showing that the coaches clearly view him as the top backup interior lineman. That puts him firmly as the number 3 guard behind Kappa and Parham. Meanwhile, Jordan Meredith, who some thought might challenge for a starting job, is currently working as the backup center. So even though he's rotating at guard in spots, it looks like the Raiders are grooming him to back up Powers-Johnson in the middle. And here's what all this tells us. Munford is no longer a swing tackle. He's a full-time guard now. Meredith is probably not in the guard conversation for week 1. He's focused on center. If Parham goes down in camp or during the season, the first guy up is Thayer Munford. It's not official yet, and training camp could still shake things up. But right now, the coaching staff is starting to show their hand. And you better believe PeteCarroll and this new-look staff are trying to build a wall in front of their young quarterback. On the other side of Kolton Miller, it looks more and more like DJ Glaze is winning the starting right tackle job. Behind them, the backup offensive tackles for the Raiders are shaping up as Charles Grant and Dalton Wagner. That might not sound like breaking news, but how they're being used tells us a lot. Wagner has almost always played right tackle, and Grant has always lived on the left side. That's exactly what the Raiders are sticking with in OTAs. Grant backs up Kolton Miller on the left. Wagner is backing up DJ Glaze on the right. And for now, that doesn't seem to be changing. The staff seems committed to keeping Charles Grant on the left. That makes sense. He played there in college, and if you're going to bring a rookie into the fire, you want him to be comfortable. But come training camp, don't be surprised if the Raiders start testing him on the right side too. Meanwhile, Caleb Rogers is working with the second unit at right guard, which again shows that the staff isn't bouncing guys around just for versatility. Every player is focusing on mastering their position. The one exception has been Thayer Munford. He's seen action at both guard spots, left and right. That flexibility might be what solidifies his roster spot in a crowded room. All of this movement, or lack of it, gives us a clearer picture of the current O-line depth chart. But the real evaluation comes in camp, just weeks away. And if we're talking development, you have to mention Dalton Wagner. He's a big man with real upside, the kind of undrafted free agent that doesn't wow you with flash, but quietly earns his stripes. He's stuck around for a reason. No, he's not going to be a Pro Bowler, but he might be a reliable swing tackle, the kind of guy you plug in mid-season and don't have to worry about. It's DJ Glaze's job to lose. But if that changes, Wagner could be the next man up. And that's not a bad thing at all. Let's wrap with a quick update on the Raiders linebacker room, and a move that just became official. The Raiders have signed veteran linebacker Jermaine Pratt, a steady presence and proven playmaker. To make room, they released safety Jonathan Sutherland, a recent addition some thought would push for a depth role. That's a bit of a surprise. Some expected a linebacker to get the axe, but it was a safety who was moved, which tells us something. The Raiders are serious about shoring up the middle of their defense, and they might not be done yet. Shaquille Griffin visited just yesterday. If he signs, expect another corresponding move in the secondary. Depth battles are heating up, and there are only so many seats at the table. Now let's talk about this linebacker room, because it's better than people think. Jermaine Pratt is 29, but he's a cerebral player with range and leadership. Devin White, just 27, still has some pop in his game and was a former top 5 pick for a reason. Elandon Roberts, now 30, brings toughness and short yardage bite. Yes, they're older, but they're not washed. They're smart, they're experienced, and they've played in meaningful games. If this group stays healthy, they'll be better than the national media wants to admit. This linebacker unit won't be flashy, but it might finally bring stability to a position the Raiders have struggled to fill for years. And in a division where you face Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert twice a year, you need more than talent. You need discipline, football IQ, and leadership. Now the Raiders just might have all three. They're not the youngest group, and they're not the fastest. But the Raiders linebackers, they're built for this scheme. In Patrick Graham's system, especially in cover 3, you don't need to be a track star. You don't need to run stride for stride with tight ends up the seam or chase down wheel routes 30 yards downfield. This isn't that kind of defense. What you do need is discipline, instinct, and a linebacker who knows when to drop, when to buzz the flats, and when to turn and carry that over route. And that's where Devin White and Jermaine Pratt come in. They're both experienced, both smart, and both capable of carrying over routes, those deep crossers that try to expose zone coverage. It's not about running 4.3. It's about knowing where to be and getting there in time to make a play. The Raiders aren't just betting on savvy veterans, though. They've got a wave of young linebackers trying to break through. Amari Burney, Cody Lindenberg, Tommy Eichenberg, Darian Butler, and Kanari Mauga, who's flashed in spurts, all of them fighting for snaps. All of them with something to prove. Last year, the room was thin. Robert Spillane was the lone constant. Tough, reliable, smart. Maybe better than anyone in this year's group? Possibly. But now, the Raiders have depth, real depth. They don't just have one guy. They have 6 who can play, and that's something they haven't had in a long time. So was last year's group better? Maybe, maybe not. But this year's unit is deeper, more versatile, and better built for surviving the long haul of an AFC West war. And in this scheme, you don't need superstars. You need soldiers.